The whole sequence just, again, cinema. It's just,
Oh yeah,
that's what this is all for, man.
I was happy at that point in the movie.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, this is nice.
Yeah,
I like
because you're
this
like, oh,
movie.
this is a movie.
And then I was just like,
Crushed. Pizza time.
pizza time.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a new episode of Pizza Time with Ed and Alex. Today, we are going to be covering Godzilla -1, the Japanese monster epic, kaiju epic, I guess you should say. It is a kaiju
phenomenon
film.
that's taking over the world.
It's a phenomenon, and that's why we're covering it, because it's hitting big here in America. It just got like a new, wider release of showings here. And you know us, like, look, we've been doing a lot of Indian cinema for sure, and we love doing it, but we also just love cinema in general. And it's like anything that does well, we want to cover it, and especially foreign cinema, especially those that are just dominating here in the West. So it's like, why not? Why wouldn't we do this? So that's what we're doing, Godzilla -1. Alex, before I get into sort of the spiel of the movie, how are your feelings about Godzilla -1? Are you a big Godzilla fan? Do you like watch
No, I
that?
would not consider myself a big Godzilla fan.
Me either.
I actually did not like Godzilla versus Kong, the last Godzilla.
Yeah,
Kong
I mean, I didn't
Godzilla
either.
movie that we got here. I haven't liked any of the Godzilla movies that we've gotten recently.
But you're talking mostly like the Western films, though, maybe.
Yeah, all the Western movies.
Okay.
I have not really seen any. Actually, no, I think this might be my first Japanese Godzilla film I've ever seen.
I figured, because like it kind of is for me too. I also, as much as I love anime in Japan, I'm not really like a Godzilla fan. I don't hate Godzilla.
No.
But I just never really grew up with watching the films. This is actually the 37th film in the Godzilla franchise. And I can't give you the nuances as to what that exactly means, but that is a shit ton of movies, regardless. And that does include the original, from the very beginning, Godzilla from the back in the whatever days. I don't even know what, the 50s, 60s. I don't know how far it really goes back, but a long, long time. But this is part of that. So, this is a really big franchise for Japan, and in some ways also in America. Like Godzilla does bonkers typically. And
yes, I mean,
crappy
we have
films
a TV show now on our Apple TV Plus. Got Monarch.
Monarch!
Legacy of
I
Monsters.
forgot about that.
I haven't watched any episodes yet. I will. It's something I would watch, so I'll check them all out. But on top of that, we also have Godzilla Kong, A New Empire, or The New Empire.
Yeah, is that Godzilla X Kong? Godzilla. I don't know how to pronounce that.
I don't know how to
weird.
pronounce it. I think it's a terrible name. Like, just say Godzilla and Kong. It doesn't work. Or just call him Kongzilla. I don't know. But we have basically team up movies of Godzilla and Kong being the Avengers, and they're taking down the bad guys.
True.
They're taking down a red monkey, a little tone of purple in them. So
And exactly. Thank you for bringing that up, because I would say,
know?
based on the recent trailer, they look more like Ken and Barbie. So it's really weird.
Oh yeah, it's really weird. I don't know why he's pink now.
And like Godzilla's pink. I don't really understand. Whatever.
It's weird. That's for another time.
This is all for another time. But today, my friend.
Yes.
Let's talk Godzilla -1. So we did watch the movie yesterday, and it is directed by Takashi Yamazaki, who, by the way, is the director, the writer, and the visual effects producer behind this. He did a lot of the visual effects for the film. I mean, triple threat. I don't know how you feel about directors that do more than one thing, but honestly, most of the time, I feel like there's something special there in the sauce.
We're going to talk about another director, and later this week, we're watching a director who does everything himself. Animal, a director who did everything himself. I think maybe the directors that do it all themselves, hey, you take a job away from me, but when it works,
But you make better stuff? Like, so
Robert
cool.
Rodriguez, a director who does all this stuff, doesn't work so much.
Right.
So, 50-50.
But anyways, I need to get into this. We have a lot of things that I want. We were supposed to film today, but I needed to force this one into my #1 spot, because I don't think I could go on living without me stating how I feel about this movie. So, if you would allow me to start.
Yes.
If you'd allow me to do
please,
the honors,
Ed,
I'd love to start, and then I'm going to really want to hear what you have to say. versus what I'm about to say. Okay, so really quick, Godzilla Minus One, again, 37th film in the franchise. It is about it takes place post-World War II, right at the cusp, like really right at the end of World War II, I believe, 1945.
Yeah, I think the two bombs just dropped.
The two bombs just dropped, and it follows a former kamikaze pilot, not because he did it, but because he failed to do so. A failed kamikaze pilot who fails to save some of his comrades. He goes back to his homeland and finds out that his parents are gone and that he must now rebuild his life, not only by, not physically by his actual home, but by surviving survivor's guilt, essentially. He feels guilty for having, not died, essentially. And along with that is this, the appearance of this monster known as Godzilla, of course. So in the timeline, I think this is kind of not really in any continuity from the rest of the movies. This lives in its own. It starts from like day one. Like Japan didn't know Godzilla really.
I think it's like almost a reboot.
It's like a reboot in some sense, yes. Which is great. So, I really describe the film as more of like a war drama than anything else. But we'll get into that. But here we go. So, Godzilla Minus One. My review. Straight out the gate, we had a crazy year this year, dude. Really, really strong stuff in the West, at least. Yeah, Barbie and Oppenheimer at the general top, I think I would say, for like some of the best movies this year.
Yeah.
I have no qualms in saying that Godzilla Minus One, I think, is more than worthy to be stated next to those movies. And in my personal opinion, I think it's the best movie of 2023. I think this movie is so insanely good on every level. I don't have any cons on my list at all. Maybe one minor gripe, but this is like a revelation to me, honestly. This film is insane. It's so good. It's so painfully good. I want to scream it on top of the rooftops of how freaking incredible this movie is from a directing standpoint, from an acting standpoint, from a visual effects standpoint, and just the feeling that it gives you. It revitalizes your love for cinema, because this fucking director Takashi Yamazaki knows what he's doing, man. Holy crap, there are visuals in this movie that I think are going to stick with me for a long time. And I would go as far to say that this might be one of the best movies made in at least the last decade, at least, straight up. I think it's easily one of the best monster movie films ever made. It's easily climbing my list of Cloverfield's probably my top movie. If you want to look at this movie as a monster movie, which I don't, I think this is already top that easily. And it's the conversation isn't even there for me. It's like, where does this fit in the best war movies of all time? Where does this fit in the best drama epics of all time? That's where this movie's sitting for me. It's a complete triumph on every level. And I cannot wait to talk about it. I'm having a hard time placing where this might be in the pantheon of movies for me. It just might be like really near the top. I think this movie does what Nolan did for Batman. I think this director did for Godzilla in that sense. That's how good I think this movie is. So that's my take. Maybe you might tell me I'm about to be crazy, but this is part of the excitement about having you as my buddy, because I need to know how you feel about it.
Ed, this is the best Godzilla movie ever made. This is the best monster movie ever made.
Woo!
This is probably one of the most relatable war movies I've ever seen. And it's just a triumph on every level that is there. And I'm mad at you because you took what I was going to say.
I'm so sorry.
Because I was going to say movies like this, again, in this year, we've watched so many Indian films and, movies like Animal, movies like Three Idiots. It revitalizes why I love cinema, why we love going to movie theaters and watching films like this. There's movies that come around every so often. This is one of them. And again, I can't imagine, I don't want to watch any other Godzilla thing going forward unless it's from this director and it's from Japan and it's done right.
100%.
everything about this movie was insane, and I just can't get over the visual effects of this movie and how good they looked. And I mean, some of the flying scenes were insane. It all is so crazy. There is no fat in this movie. No. It is trimmed. You move. You do not feel the length. It's 2 hours. It's lean. It's quick. And I mean, holy moly, man, it's like getting gut punched with emotion at every other turn. Like everywhere you go, you're just like, oh, and like I'm sitting in this theater and I'm looking at what Tokyo was, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, look how terrible this is, and they got to rebuild it all, and then Godzilla's coming, and it's all just gonna get where, and like you see him rebuild this life, and we'll get into it, but I completely agree with you, Ed. It is
thank you.
It is a triumph of films that I did not expect to be as good, and that's that I went in with hype.
Sure, me too. Absolutely,
it went above and beyond my hype.
Oh, it just completely annihilated my expectations in every way. And that's where I kind of wanted to start was, when you the expectations for the film, because when you of course the trailer is going to make it's going to push towards more so like it's a traditional monster flick. You're going to see a bunch of stuff flying in the air, explosions, Godzilla going ham on just everybody. Right. And then you watch the film and all of a sudden, even straight from the get-go, even though it starts with an incredible sequence, the film starts really like slow and gentle and tender, and it goes with that for a long time.
Minutes. Yeah, at least.
And then really, you realize all of a sudden that it's really the base of the movie. You have the base war epic drama about this poor man who's just dealing with like just a horrible survivor's guilt. And then there's just Godzilla scenes peppered in. That's the movie that's there. And for better or for worse, is that what makes this the best Godzilla movie? I don't know. But it sure as hell makes for a fantastic just war
film
drama. Just phenomenal baseline level for a war drama that is hyper-focused on the characters and not Godzilla. And it makes me kind of go, can we do this for Transformers? Like any of these other broken franchises where we figure out like, what do we do with like the big green monster thing that everybody wants to see? Like that's just the only thing we can do. So let's just throw a bunch of random humans that we don't give a shit about. And clearly we don't give a shit about. But here you go. You have a movie that's like, all I care about are the characters for the most part. Right. Along with Godzilla. So it's like, is that the thing that this movie did right?
Right. Well, that's what works, right? Like if that's where we're starting, it's a character first movie. Godzilla movie second. Yeah. Like Godzilla is the reason the motion's gonna go, but he's not the story. The story is of this man and the trauma that he has to go through and how it just continues to pile on and how essentially it's the whole story is a metaphor that because he's still at war with himself the entire movie. Yeah. He's at war because he can't forgive that he couldn't be the kamikaze pilot, that he couldn't be the person to maybe take the chance to kill Godzilla when he had the chance at the very beginning of the movie. And again, it's his personal war that is the basis that really grounds the movie. Yeah. Because again, Godzilla is he's a larger than life creature, right? Like you can't relate to a lizard. No. But you can relate to this man. Everybody's got a personal war going on. Maybe not on the same level, right? But like everybody struggles, everybody goes through stuff, and this is why this movie works and why our Godzilla movies have failed. You just kind of throw like you just said, you throw characters into it and expect it to be this like, oh, they're going to connect to these random ass scientists who are super smart and can do everything, and like you can't connect to that person, but you can connect to this guy. Yeah, he's a normal guy struggling to get through.
Yeah, a lot of those are just conduits for spectacle, right? It's just like let's just get as quickly as we can back to whatever the big CGI moment is. And what's funny is that this movie has plenty of that too. So again, I think it just does it all right. So where I want to go from here is just clearly this is again, I think this is the best movie of 2023. Hands down. I don't know how you feel about that. I think it's better than Oppenheimer. I think it's better than Barbie. There's just no other movie this year that I've seen.
In terms of length, I would say, I'd probably agree. At this moment right now.
What is your favorite film in 2023? Just out of curiosity.
Right now?
You don't have a number.
Probably Oppenheimer.
Okay, so Oppie is up there. Yeah. Again, another war epic.
I just watched Wonka. That's gonna go up there.
Okay.
As well.
Yeah.
It might be this. Really.
Well, I want to actually. I love that you said Nolan though, because if I said earlier, like I don't know if Takashi is taking from Nolan, but this movie is stylistically a very Nolan movie. It takes, again, not in just an approach where you take, here's an IP that's fantastical like Batman and do what he did with it, which is ground Batman and turn him into the serious brooding force that people can relate to on some certain level. And I feel like Takashi's doing the same thing here, where Takashi's also just on a filmmaking level, like really cognizant about score, about blocking. There's some fantastic shots in this movie, and really finding moments that are like affect you on a deeper level. So why don't we go to like our favorite parts of the film? Which, look, let's talk about Godzilla first, I guess, because that's what people might want us to talk about really quick.
Yeah.
And the visual effects. The visual effects are. The fact that they're done by the director, which is already a rare feat.
Yeah.
On top of writing, they're excellent, and I would put them up right alongside any visual effects done today. Yeah. And again, $15 million budget for this movie, by the way. Pennies.
Yeah. What is that in yen?
I don't know. I'll look it up. But like,
I bet you it's like $2 billion.
It's not. It's in general, it's still not. That's nothing. And the effects are so well done. One of my favorite things is the rendering of Godzilla. This is one of the brilliant things I think that Takashi did with the render of Godzilla and the visual effects. His face, he doesn't give Godzilla facial expression at all. And it gives this unnerving old school feel. Like, this is a monster, guys. Yeah. In the new Godzilla movies and shit, like they make him like they over animate the face. It's like, they wince and they like, you feel like that they're hurt. No, this thing is meant to be a force of nature that no one understands. And when you look at the eyes of this freaking Godzilla, it's just blank. You don't know what it's feeling. You don't know what it's gonna do. And even in the way it moves, it's like kind of like an old school vibe. And it's it's really unnerving. And it's just like I've never felt that in a long time, because I think we over animate. We need to feel for the monsters in Western movies. It's like not always. It's effective. It's really effective here.
Yeah. Do we know, like, was it a clay model? What was it? Because
I don't know.
The way he moves is so much better than the way the Godzilla moves nowadays, and are overly, like you said, it's overly animated.
It's like rubbery. It's weird.
Yeah, it's rubbery. He moves too fluidly. This is a giant lizard. It shouldn't move as fast as it is. Like in the trailer for the new moon, one of the last shots is Godzilla running.
And they're just like sprinting like Usain Bolt and fucking Nick. You're like,
yeah. Hang on a second. But I'm sure there's a lot of Godzilla fans that love that. So whatever.
Maybe.
But no. I mean, come on. We know a couple of them.
Yeah,
that,
sure.
That are gonna love the movie no matter how bad it is. Let's be honest. But anyway, the visual effects of this movie, dude. If that's where we're starting, like parts that we like so much. It's just so insane when he first does the
heat blast,
the atomic blast, the heat blast, heat ray. I'm not sure what they call it in the film.
In the movie,
in the city, with I'm forgetting her name at the moment. I will look it up.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Noriko. Noriko, yeah. In the city when he tries to go save her, it is insane how it looks. Looks like he's really destroying these buildings. Yeah. These people are really like perishing and dying. He does such a really, really great job, and pretty much never shows too much blood. And he's never gory about it. Which is
not at all. There's no like limbs flying off or anything.
Right. So when he first does the atomic blast, that's one of my favorite moments, just because like to watch it, all the spikes come up, and I'm like, oh man. And then he does it. The way he animates him, and the way that like he basically stacks down like almost like you're closing a hood of a car.
Yeah.
And then boom. I thought that was really
and
creative,
then the subsequent
really cool.
The visual effect of the
blast
bomb
going off.
The editing of that is fantastic, where the sound goes out and then boom, and it's just like it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
All of that was so freaking good.
It's such a stark contrast to like, let's say again, Nolan for Oppenheimer, like a big blast again, atomic bomb this year, and the like that was all done more or less practically. Right. Yet I feel like similarly about both. One was entirely CGI, one was completely practical, and it's like I get the same feeling, if not more so in the more fantastical version here with Godzilla. And it just goes to show, like, there's never in this eternal battle between practical effects and visual effects. I don't think there's ever a right answer. I think there's what can you do to maximize the effect that you're going for, and that this is a prime example of like. I love practical, but it's not like it always is the better option. It's not always the better option. It's just not.
Right.
This is a beautiful example of that,
This is a beautiful mix of both, and I think that there's never a moment where I thought, wow, that's a bad VFX shot. I don't think
not even close.
Which in a modern movie is incredibly hard for me to like that's a feat that's just hard to do, because there's always a bad CGI shot of a car nowadays. Like, they can't get cars right anymore for some strange reason. There's always some bad VFX shots somewhere in these movies.
Right.
There's nothing bad about any of the VFX.
No.
And like, if we're going to be talking about like favorite moments, like that's one of my favorite moments.
Absolutely.
I guess is just the beauty of it all. And even the beauty, like you just said, of the chaos of the destruction. It's not filmed in a way where you're like, oh, whoa, like it's almost like, holy crap.
There's no like quick cuts almost any time in the film, especially during those moments. Like he did, the director does a brilliant job of like, especially those big destruction moments, just sitting the camera down. One, I'm sure helps with VFX, because then obviously a shaky cam is bullshit. Like that's gonna just ruin a VFX person's life. But you can see the way that it's blocked, and the way that the shot decisions, and the way it's designed, that it's made for maximum effect, even if it's not, even though the camera is not in the space. I think like people like Zack Snyder especially are like fall into that trap so hard sometimes, where they feel like you just have to be like completely in there, and that's how you're going to be immersed. And it's like, no, that not all the time. You don't have to go too far.
Yeah.
This is a good example of showing off like how that doesn't need to be. The Tokyo sequence is what the hell? That is incredible. Like, none of that's real, dude.
Right.
None of it's real. And the whole time I'm in Tokyo. This is crazy. This whole moment's happening, and I'm not even thinking about it. And it's just, again, the fidelity of it. I think it's a lot with the art direction and the way it's shot. That is just like, this guy's as far as I'm concerned, this guy's a new master. He gets it. He completely gets it from a technical level to get you there. And I also wanted to bring up the first scene on Odo Island, where we first see Godzilla. Talk about like Jurassic Park vibes, dude. That's the first time I felt like I was like, it gave me the T-Rex feeling, like the feeling of seeing the T-Rex from Jurassic Park, the original Jurassic Park, all the way back in like 1994, was it? I believe. It just talking about like, the darkness and like seeing this huge, obviously, hulking monster. It looks so good. It just looks so good. You're completely immersed in it. And these scenes with Godzilla are insane, dude. They're so good. So like, they're better than any.
I think we can agree. Like, all the scenes with Godzilla are phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think my favorite would probably be the Tokyo scene where he's dragging him away for the city so they can try for that plan to work.
Yeah.
And even when he's underwater, which we haven't even talked about yet, when he starts to look like he's gonna blow up because the pressure is coming up, like that looks great. But again, it goes into like, it has to be someone that knows what he's doing when it comes to VFX and shooting that stuff, because it has to be dark. It can't be well lit. It has to be the right color. It has to be, all these things have to be right for this stuff to look good. And clearly you need someone that understands it. And I don't know how long this was in post-production for. I don't know how, like, when this movie was filmed, but it was quite amazing.
Oh, it's
well, it
special.
looks. Yeah, it's that's a great way. Special.
So why don't we move on from Godzilla VFX stuff, which I think it could be up for any awards this year alongside anything else, in my opinion. And the director deserves all props for his skills in that way.
Yeah.
Let's move on to some of the more maybe dramatic stuff that I think is as equally enchanting and really sharp in this movie.
Yeah.
This again, I think when you talk about storytelling and like really interesting stories, this movie clearly puts the characters on the forefront with our main protagonist, Shikishima, who plays the kamikaze pilot. And there's like the big overarching story for him is survivor's guilt. But when you just see the screenplay unfold, that's where I also think the movie's really special, because there's no slow parts. Every scene is purposeful. Every scene moves the characters forward, and so the screenplay in and of itself is fantastic. He keeps at it. Every scene adds to the idea that he just keeps life keeps trying to move forward for him. And
but he can't.
He can't. And all these scenes do such a good job. I mean, you also have his like partner, which is hardly can be even called a partner, but the story with him and her is so beautiful. So like devastating and beautiful. You know. And they have this kid who is neither is their actual kid. Like no one's related here in any way, and they're trying to make this family work, and it's just so beautifully devastating to see it unfold in this world. So what did you think of like the main narrative and how that went, and with the acting and stuff, because it was crazy.
Devastating is a great word for it. It's just like heartbreaking to watch this man deal with the trauma of war that he had to see. And there's my favorite scene with him in the whole movie, Ed, is after he first gets his job with the company pulling up the mines. And the young man says, I wish the war was longer. And he grabs that man and he says, no, don't ever say that.
Yeah.
Like, that was like the first time since he got back home,
right,
where you realized, oh, he's not okay. You can tell he's not okay. He's fighting a lot of demons. Like you get hints at it, but like they move pretty quick. Like he goes, he's disgraced. He goes back home. He gets pretty pooped on by his neighbor because she lost her kids, which is harsh as hell. And you're just like, God, see you late, calm down. And then he meets Noriko, and it all kind of kicks into motion. And then he finally gets a job about 5 months later doing this. And then that's when you get the first moment of him being bad. And then like, it just kind of still like slowly unravels from there.
Yeah.
He has terrible dreams where he doesn't even know if he's in real life or not in real life.
Yeah, really powerful moments.
PTSD. Yeah, and then there's this insanely powerful speech that the scientist gives, which I'm so sorry I don't remember anybody's name. I don't remember.
Noda, I think it's Noda.
Noda, yes. Noda gives this a very, very, very powerful speech about how like this country hasn't cared about us for so long.
Yeah.
They used us as suicide pilots and used us as their tools in a war that we weren't winning. And this is different. This is us volunteering to do this, to save our country. I was like, that seems so powerful and so well acted out.
You're so right.
You know, and then as much as I liked the Godzilla scenes, they were all great. The best scenes had to deal with Shikishima.
Shikishima. Mm-hmm.
Shikishima, and the trauma he has to deal with, you know, and the partners he makes with Noda and his friends, and then when he reaches out to the airline, to the airline. And he writes that note basically saying it's your fault because it's the only way he knows he'll come out of hiding.
He'll get angry.
Yeah, and he beats him up, but he has that redemption, and then right before he, you know, obviously we talked about spoilers, but right before he drives the plane into Godzilla's mouth, you get the little flashback scene where he tells him to live.
Yeah.
And it's just that, it's not even like, it's not a big speech. It's just a simple word. He just like puts his hands on his shoulders and says, live. Here's the ejection seat. And he does, because I was so worried. I was like, this whole time, I was like, God, I hope Godzilla dies, but like, I don't want him to die.
Yes, and that's one of the brilliant parts of the screenplay. Is like, you really don't know. You don't know if he's going to survive. Like, what's crazier is that you know it's his choice. Like, it's his choice completely, and you don't know what he's going to do. Right. And again, this is why I keep saying, like, it's hard to not see that the parallels with Nolan. Talk about the ejection seat. way better done than Dark Knight Rises. When you talk about like the hinting of the ejection, maybe Batman might live because like here's an ejection sheet. Way better done this time around. Where it's like, I mean, you know what he's telling him, but it's still done in a much better way, where it's like it's only hinted at slowly. You still don't really know if he's gonna do it or not, but but it's still done just really well done. I have to agree with you. The best scenes that are gonna stick with me from this movie are not even Godzilla. It's Shikishima and his scenes where he's trying to deal with his trauma. One of my favorite freaking scenes. There's two with him. Okay. The first one is there's this where he's at home with Noriko, and he's on his knees, and he's explaining to her for the first time when he first saw Godzilla and how he got into survivor's guilt in the first place. There's an amazing shot. The blocking in this movie is fantastic, where he's just on his side. He's on his knees and he's like sitting on his side like this. You can't really see his face, and Noriko's sort of in the front of the frame. And the camera just pans ever so slightly around him while he's trying to tell this really hard story to tell. And you can't see his face. And the camera's just, it's like you're trying to get to him. Like you're trying to finally reach out to him and tell him he's okay, but it won't allow you to, because this beautiful shot just around Noriko, all you want to do is like hug him. You want to do everything you can to like be like, don't say stuff like that. Like I want you to live, but you can't. That shot is so great because it just stays on him for like 2 minutes. It's really great. And then it's a small moment, but again, these small moments really show what a great director can do. The second big moment for me that I think is one of the best shots and moments in cinema this year is right after that devastating moment where you think Noriko sacrificed her life for him, and she pushes him out of the way of the blast. By the way, that was a insane moment as well. I literally audibly went,
how they pulled that off, I was like, holy crap.
Incredible sacrifice moment. I don't want to talk to her about that in a second for Noriko, but the moment after that, when he looks at Godzilla, knees on the floor, and he's just in anguish, and he starts screaming. And then after like the second or third scream of just a feral guttural anguish, the rain starts pouring down from the blast. Black mud just over him, and the camera tracks back. That is fucking cinema at its best right there. That's cinema right there. I'm gonna remember that scene more than almost any other scene since I don't know what movie, probably La La Land or something. It's one of the best scenes I've seen in a long, long time. And you have masters like Nolan and Scorsese this year, and I can't say that I had a stronger reaction to any of the great scenes that they've done out this year than that scene by itself. Stark beauty in that movie. Moment.
I don't think it's a big limb to go out and say that this is the best crafted movie of the year.
Probably.
In terms of everything, like in terms of like filmmaking 101.
Yes.
This is filmmaking. This is like, here you go. And the fact they pulled it off for $15 million is insane. There's also that scene where the young daughter is crying on his last night because he gives her stuff, and like you don't even know why she's crying, and she could be crying for a different reason, but you have this feeling in your heart, in your gut, watching the movie that she's crying because she thinks it's the last time she's going to see her.
Yeah, I think something.
Yeah. And it's like, there's no words. It's just that. So it's like, geez.
Every time that kid says mommy or daddy, I melt. I just absolutely die inside because, again, this family's not a real family, but all this girl knows is these two. And Shikishima can't, wants to be a partner for Noriko, but he's just so torn that he doesn't feel like he's ready for that. Yeah. And there's this great, I want to talk about Noriko really quick before we get to other things, because Noriko also was a huge part of the movie. I would say she's technically the hero of the movie, if you ask me. That moment where she sacrifices herself for Shikishima, there would be no defeating Godzilla if she hadn't done that. You know how much power that was? Like for particularly a woman. By the way, this is 1945 Japan. Like these are women who are traditional. They aren't looking to be in the workforce. They want to serve their man. Blah 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 blah. Right? In that moment, like she is a fucking, how badass that moment is. She just pushes him to the side, lets that thing, she takes it all. Like, I'm going to sacrifice myself for you. That's, I mean, if any women, particularly today, should see what being a good person should be in general, woman or not, that is such an insanely powerful scene. No words, one simple motion, says everything. Says everything you could know about Noriko, you could ever think. And it's
that
like that
set piece is amazing.
It's incredible.
He hears on the radio, it's at the city where she works. And he goes and gets her, and like, I thought she was going to get crushed. I was like, absolutely. No. And then he comes out of nowhere. He says, you want to live? Yeah. Live. And like, here's this man who you don't even know if he wants to live, really. But he can't. The thing that's like so devastating about that whole scene is like, this is a man who still can't give his heart to her, to her. No, yeah. Because he can't, because he's still fighting his war. Yet he's over there telling her to live, telling her to fight for it. And he has to watch this woman he loves, essentially, sacrifice herself to save him. So you get the scene with him screaming and then the rain, and you're just kind of like...
The whole sequence just, again, cinema. It's just fucking, that's what this is all for, man.
I was like, I was happy at that point in the movie. You know, I was like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, this is a movie.
And then I was just like...
Crushed.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Did that just happen?
Yeah, like the lip quiver. No. I was just like...
The lip quiver, yeah.
Dude, it's such a great I just, man. It's so good, dude. It's so good. There's
so many moments like that.
Yeah. Since we're on it, I have the one little tiny, not even I would say gripe, but just like, what has to do with this moment. Maybe you know what it is. Maybe it bothered you too. Maybe it didn't. Very end of the movie. The final reveal at the end is that Shikishima gets a telegram. We don't know what the telegram says until the very end. You realize that Noriko actually survived. I didn't know. I
liked it.
I didn't not like it. I think it's fine. I love it. I love that, like, she gets to survive. That's great. I don't know. It's more cinematic to me, which is why I think it's okay they went that direction. But at the same time, the former moment to me was so, like, just so profoundly powerful that if she really sacrificed, like, really died, she's no longer there. If this is a movie about living, death and living, that if she died, that might have been a little bit more powerful for the theme. But for on a cinematic level, it wasn't like, I wasn't happy to see her. So that was like the small thing. It's not a gripe. It was one of those things where I'm like, oh man. I mean, I think it would have been fine if she just died.
For me,
I think that'd have been fine.
For me, in the story, I think closing the book for his character, I think it was a good idea to have her live, because it kind of, you get that, like, incredibly sweet, and again, everything about this movie is simple. That's why it's so good. And you get this incredibly sweet and simple line where she says, "Is your war over?" And it is, and they can be together now. They're what they had been fighting for I think it'd been 3 years at this point.
Probably the kid was probably like 3 or 4.
Yeah. So they were barely, they could get past it finally and love each other. And I think for me, it works in that sense. Like you said, on a cinematic level, it works. Mm-hmm. If you want to talk on an impact level, I think that for me, I'm okay with it, more so because this guy has already been through everything. I think it was the movie giving him something back.
Sure,
and again, it wraps up that storyline of live. The pilot telling him live is such a powerful thing. Yeah. And then we haven't even talked about, sorry.
Bring it up.
That great. Yeah. But we haven't even talked about the moment they tell the kid he can't come. He's too young.
Yes, absolutely.
And then he comes and saves the damn day. But not just him, all of Tokyo. Yeah. Every tugboat in Tokyo's Bay comes out to help, because it's not just about, those men sacrificing their lives. It's about everybody protecting their home.
Yeah.
Tokyo to fight for it, to fight for what matters to them. And that was a very cool, like, let's get out of my effing seat. Let's go. They're going to do it.
And see, I think that's correct. I want to talk about that moment too, because of the fact that, like, talk about really great screenwriting where there's no bias. I think really great screenwriting presents no bias. I think it's like you present the situation and you present the honest feelings about the people in the moment and you lay it all out and you let the audience determine for themselves how they want to feel about it. That's a great moment, because here's the thing. No one's wrong. The kid wants to help out because he wants to, whether it's for his own sort of self-actualization or righteousness or whatever, or just simply because he wants to save his home, ultimately, which is what I think it is. But it makes sense that Noda and the captain, I forget his name, but the captain, those two, the older gentleman in the group, he's a kid. The kid, the person we're talking about is a kid. To say, like, he's our future, though. He needs to live because we've lived our lives. Yes. And we need him to survive because he's a good guy and he needs to stay. Whatever happens to us, he needs to stay so he can, form the next generation. All of this is right. All of this, not right. All of this is completely within reason. Right. And in other screenplays, I just feel like another person would, like, take one side and be like, no, he should be able to. And, like, that's wrong for them to have done that. Or it's wrong for him to want this. It's like, no, there's none of that. It's like the characters do what they do. Yeah. And there's always a reason behind people's actions. And here it is. Whatever. Like, you can feel about it how you want to, and that's it. Yeah. But it also harkens back to the fact that almost every character here, big and small, gets like a moment. An arc, and it's fantastic. I mean, again, this is really sharp writing. It's the screenplay is phenomenal. Aces. And just like wow.
Like, we haven't even talked about how broken he is after her death.
Sure.
It's crazy. Yeah. Like, how much he changes after she's gone, and how he is just this shell of the man he once was, and like, you're just like sad because, like, once her death happens, quote unquote death, then the movie kind of turns into this, like, oh, is he gonna be able? You don't know. Is he gonna be able to fight the demons? And then, like, you almost think he's not, and then it gives you the hope that he is, and almost like the hope of a country when Godzilla dies. Yeah. That end. Yeah. We'll talk about that. Yeah. So. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Really, really great.
Totally. Absolutely. And since it doesn't seem like it, I already said one con. Before we move on to just other things and kind of close this thing out, maybe. Did you have any cons?
I did not.
Okay.
I thoroughly enjoyed the movie from start to finish. And for me, like, a con I typically have with most of these kind of foreign films that we've been into is that they're typically too long. Yep. But this was not that at all. It was quick moving.
Pretty lean 2 hours.
Every scene mattered. There was no, like I said at the very beginning, there was no fat on this bone, man. It was just going. And I love movies like that. They know where they want to start. They know what they want to say. And they know how they want to end. And everything about it is this movie. And it's fantastic for it. So, yeah, I have no cons. I really cannot even think of a con. The editing was wonderful.
I was going to say the editing. The next thing I was going to bring in. Editing is also really good.
It was
really good. Editing.
Wonderful. They're, like you said, they're long shots. There's not these, like, quick edits to show chaos and stuff. No, you can show chaos in a wide shot if it's done right. And, like,
I say this. I don't think there's a shot that is shorter than, like, 2 seconds.
I was about to say 2 seconds before.
I don't think there's a shot that's shorter than that. So
it was beautiful. Yeah. I don't need 700 shots in a movie. Yeah. I just need a good one composed shot. Yeah. That's why the movie cost $15 million.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is probably single cam more than likely. I would imagine it was a single cam shoot.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. Like, just the fact that my eyes didn't have to do so much freaking deciphering of, like, what's going on. And it's just a really good marker for someone, like, but everyone on every end, just like the direction, the pacing, the art direction, just and the editing. Everyone's in conjunction with, like, what is this? This is the type of movie we're making. Yeah. And that's what we're going to stick to through and through. And even during the battle sequences, those aren't edited differently. They're edited in the same cadence. but to maximize the effort that it's in. So, man, the editing's fantastic. It's really good. Yeah. But I can go on, dude. The score is fantastic. The score is so good. It's just simple. And then you have the classic, which I don't know a lot of Godzilla, but I do know the theme. Like that's been like that's been sampled in a bunch of like music and stuff. So you know the theme.
Yeah.
Bum 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 bum.
Yeah.
So well done. Like, and just even the softer moments where it's just like this again. Tell me, am I wrong to say that this movie definitely takes a lot from Nolan in its approach? Because even the score is very just simple. There's like it's like a 2-note melody. It's just long flourishes of just like one note, and it just works so well. It knows its place, and it doesn't over promise.
Yeah, no,
and actually makes a statement.
I don't think you're wrong to say that.
There's just a lot to that takes I think again from the Batman films, which as far as I'm concerned really did transform not just that character but just epics in general, you know, and how films could be seen on that scale. It could be a little slower, not just bombastic in your face.
Right. So I think
great, you know.
Yeah, I think so I don't know. I was trying to look up if this was a sequel, but I do agree it does take a lot from Nolan, and it is just so insane.
Oh, here we go. Actually, this is a statement from Yamazaki. Stated that Godzilla -1 was inspired by the original 1954 Godzilla film, Steven Spielberg's Jaws, Hayao Miyazaki, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, again from Spielberg, Jurassic Park, of course, and of course Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk. So we're not wrong. And I think this is a prime example of someone going like, well, yeah, of course I'm going to take from them because they make the greatest fucking films in the history of cinema. And I want to make films like that. So this is what I did. And what's strangely enough, it's like it doesn't feel necessarily like he just completely ripped them off. It's his film. It's completely his film. You can just see the inspirations, and it's clear as day, and that's fine.
So I just read the budget was actually less than $15 million.
Sure.
The director said the director said, "I wish I had 15 million."
Yeah, well, because the guy just didn't sleep for a year because he was busy rendering out a single frame over his like MacBook Pro, I guess. You know, like this guy must have had like nothing to work with.
That's less than 10% of what the last Godzilla film was.
It's incredible. Which, by the way, he says he actually takes some inspiration from Gareth Edwards' Godzilla. Strangely enough.
There was some cool shots in that movie.
Absolutely. No, that movie is hardly bad. I don't think it's a bad movie. I think it's fine.
Yeah, he just lost the fact that like the characters, I didn't care about them. I don't care. Aaron Taylor Johnson, you wasted Aaron Taylor Johnson in that film. You wasted a little
dating bit. His sister. It's weird. Anyway, dude, I don't know what else to say. Like we could literally go on for another hour, but
I want to say one thing.
Okay, go. What else you got?
Like, so I read after we got out, I read some articles about how the hell he made this movie for this little, and I think I want to like, if I can, for 2 minutes,
go
shit
for
on.
It. All right. Go for it.
I think Collider wrote an article saying, "Oh well, hey, let's all put this into perspective, because Japan doesn't have unions. That's why they were able to make this movie for $15 million." Because actors don't have a union, so they have to work 14-hour days. Here in America, most actors work 14-hour days on set. That's a normal thing.
That's
actors, that's a standard day.
Everyone on the set works 14 hours, from craft services to the actors.
That's
completely
a
normal.
Day.
Completely normal.
And saying that this film was only so cheap because these people don't get paid what they should, I think is a massive disrespect. I think our actors and our above the line talent get paid way too much.
Absolutely.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Like the Christopher Nolan probably made $200 million for Oppenheimer. That's why the budget was $200 million.
Correct.
Like that's why budgets are so high in America. Not because the below the line talent isn't getting paid, but to say that, the only reason they made it is because Japan is basically using slave labor, when you don't have a hard, stead fact about it, I think that's irresponsible and it's wrong.
No, it's also someone who doesn't know shit about filmmaking. Because when you look at the history of filmmaking, and you see, especially foreign cinema, and one of the biggest foreign cinemas to ever even explode in the beginning, I'm talking about in the 80s and 90s, is Chinese cinema with Jackie Chan. They didn't have rat poop to make movies. What did they do? Right. They used boxes. They used what they could. And they also had a flame in their fucking heart to create something, not just thinking about them fucking selves all the time. So this pro-union, I'm sure is pro-union asshole. Fuck you. You don't know shit about what you're talking about.
Like, it's like, when you write something like that, you take away from what they created.
Exactly.
Because you're basically saying, oh, they're underpaid and they're overworked.
They don't give a shit about what they don't give a shit about what they're making. They don't give a shit about what the end product.
We would have heard something that they're underpaid and overworked, that they would have come out and say it. Like, and also, you're taking away from the director who did the visual effects.
Correct.
Like, he did it himself because he wanted to do it himself, because he wanted to do it right.
Yes.
Like, that's what we're missing in American filmmaking. So yes, it does school American filmmaking in a lot of ways.
No.
They're
ridiculous.
No. Come on, Collider.
Also,
be better.
It's just a different country. If you're paying for stuff, I don't know where they source their materials or whatever. I would imagine some of it had to be locally. You're not going to just ship everything over.
Yeah.
Things are cheaper, of course.
Yes.
No one's saying
everything's so much cheaper. It's another thing they completely ignored.
It's cheaper. Duh. Like, it's not fucking American money, systems that they have to work with.
Catering costs
everything
less.
is cheaper. Everything
costs less. That's why it costs less. You're ignoring facts about stuff that you shouldn't be when speaking about films.
There's people who just don't know.
And you're just saying, oh, it's because they don't have a union, so people are underpaid.
That's why I say
no.
Yeah.
They did it right. They shot with less cameras. They made the whole situation less complicated. He wrote the movie for 2 years, but he shot the movie on a very good, tight timeline of 5 months. March, April, May, June. 4 months. Sorry, I don't know how to count. Like, you have to give credit to, yes, they did the ABCs of filmmaking better. That's why it's better than American films.
Yes. 100%.
Not because they don't have a union.
Yeah,
and come on.
To be fair, look, there are productions that are horrible. I'm sure that's true.
Yes,
I'm sure that exists. No one's saying that doesn't exist.
Right.
However, there are productions that try to do it right, and this is a clear example where it was done correctly. And the fact that it was done for less is a huge win. It's not something to make a fucking hit piece on anything that's non-union. Like, go fuck yourself. Like, you're just trying to ride the union train. Like, did you even know what a fucking union was? Like, after 6 months ago? Shut up.
Right. Like,
so
Everything Everywhere All at Once was made for $25 million. Was that also because they did non-union things, or?
Well, so, that's not a lot of money either. You tell us, but no, there's no story for that because it was an all Asian cast. Like, of course not. No, well, first of all, I love IGN. I say this all the love in the world because I've been following them for years. Fuck IGN though. Like,
this was Collider.
Oh, sorry. You thought you said IGN. Sorry, Collider.
Yeah,
I don't have anything against
IGN's
Collider, I guess, but that guy can shut up, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Like, just don't take it. Don't. If you don't know about films and you've never been on film sets, don't write about that stuff because that just takes away from what these people accomplished.
Correct. Yeah, and
which was a fantastic thing.
To also be fair, it's not like I did an immense amount of research. I don't exactly know. But to be honest with you, I just don't see that being the case. Yeah. I think you're just trying to make a story where you think a story should exist about that. But you just don't know. You don't know.
American cinema is still the top, and it's like, is it still the top? Is it?
No,
because
I don't even see how that's even possible to say that with the amount the box office failures that's occurring
that we've had
with more money, and it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah,
whatever.
The failures are nuts. But yeah, that's all I wanted to do.
Okay, no, that's great. I love that point.
Because it does school American filmmaking in so many ways, it's almost hard to believe.
Correct. We can go on for longer, man, but I think we're hitting up almost an hour here, but we should end it there. If you guys want us to talk more about it, let us know. But Godzilla Minus One is just a
work of art.
It's a work of art. It's special. It should be looked up to. It should be pedestaled 100%.
Yeah.
I don't like throwing around the word masterpiece a lot, but in whatever that's worth, I really do think this is I would say this is a masterpiece as much as like The Dark Knight is a masterpiece. I just don't find any fault in it. I think it's just a brilliant piece of cinema, and I think everyone should look up to it for the future, in every way possible. It's really why I love movies. I cried throughout the movie. I think we should have like an Ed cry meter at this point, if that matters to anybody. Like, it's just such an affecting film, and should really be. I really hope it really does, like, just everything and above and beyond. So. We didn't even talk about really quick. Yeah, there was a little bit at the end where we clearly see that there's maybe a sequel. The body of Godzilla kind of regenerates, kind of bloop, 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 bloop in the water. Cool. I mean, whatever. I honestly don't want one because I just love this movie's fine. This movie in and of itself is great. I don't know if there needs to be a sequel. If there is a sequel, bring Godzilla back, bring everyone back. I think we should just leave the characters behind, though. Just don't touch that. This beautiful story with Shikishima and Noriko and everyone here. I think we're good. Let's move on to different characters if it must be a sequel. You know,
if there's a sequel, let's place it somewhere else in Japan. Let's have new characters and somehow, some way, a new storyline of something.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what that would be, but
if you bring back Shikishima, I swear to God, I'm not even gonna watch it.
Yeah, I entrust them to do the right.
Me too. I mean, it's clearly Takashi knows what he's doing. So, but anyways, that's the only thing I had to say about the sequel. But that's where we're gonna end it, guys. Like and subscribe, hit the bell. One thing just for posterity's sake, you guys can like sign off now if you haven't gone this far. But for posterity's sake, I just want to make it very clear that we didn't hit this. I know we don't do a lot of Japanese cinema, although we've done some. We're not looking at Godzilla -1 as sort of like our RRR. If anyone's like following that far, we legitimately love this movie. It's not a gateway to us getting more views or whatever. This is just really good filmmaking, and we love it. And there might be some parallels there because it's also in December and blah, blah, blah. But that just happens to be the way that the cookie crumbles sometimes. We're all about cinema. That's what we want to do here. We just want to be honest. And so if you like this and if you want us to cover more Japanese stuff, Indian crowd especially, because a lot of you are Indians, tell your Japanese friends. And if you're into Japanese cinema and you would like us to cover not just Japanese cinema but foreign cinema in general, just to hear our thoughts on it, let us know. We would really love to do that, to be honest with you. We'd love to really extend Pizza Time to being just for all cinema, champions of the art form and the medium, and for diverse talk and critical thought and open thought. So anyways, that's my little spiel at the end. Alex, do you have anything to add to that?
Nope.
All right. See you guys next time. Bye.
Later.